We've got some interesting lineup of talks for everyone here. We'll start with Ranganathan. He'll talk about technology being the next strategy. We have Ola Binny who'll come in after that. And we have a team here from UK who'll talk about some of the interesting innovation that they're doing in the retail space. And the last bit of this track is a panel discussion involving Tista and some of the others. Yeah. Hope to have an engaging experience. I'll turn this over to Ranganathan. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Hi everyone. I'm Ranganathan. I'm from the Hyderabad office, and the topic are nearly seeming same to what morning. I'm like a little bit doubtful they copied some of my slides. So if something is repeating, just understand that they copied it from me. Before starting, who is stronger, either an ant or an elephant? How many of you think ant is stronger? Okay. How many of you think, okay, 1, 2. How many of you think elephant is stronger? Okay. Rest all doesn't want to answer. Okay. So I'll give you one statistics. So an ant can lift 50 times its own weight. An elephant can lift only 1/5 of its weight. Now, same question again. How many of you feel ant is stronger? How many of you feel elephant is stronger? So anything that we talk about, right, it all depends on the metrics that we are using and the strength, what is being measured here. So let us take two people in the same industry. One is McDonald's, the other one is In-N-Out Burger. Both of them sell hamburgers. You go there, you pay almost same price and then come back. But when you see McDonald's and In-N-Out, there is one difference. McDonald's, all the decisions for McDonald's is made on fast productions. But for In-N-Out, it's all non-processed and fresh food. So the feel is like you go to McDonald's, the thing that they want to give you is like within 2 minutes or 1 minute, they want to give you a burger and you just take your burger and walk away. But for In-N-Out, the idea is you go in, you can spend some time, it takes at least 10 minutes to get the burger, but you have the feel of fresh homemade burger. What do we call this? What do we call this? This difference is what we call strategy. So we start with strategy 101. Somebody wants to define what strategy is? Because like, I think most of you know, but some of you, I was also confused what strategy meant, and especially in the business world. So I thought like, okay, I'll talk what strategy means first. Anybody wants to tell what strategy is?
Plan up someone.
Okay.
Strategy is of long term.
What is strategy?
Approach for doing a thing.
Approach for doing a thing, yeah. Some more definitions? Okay. So one of the same person whom Chris referred, probably copied from my slide, Michael Porter. So Michael Porter explains strategy as whenever an organization faces with any challenge, the challenge being the competition, how does a company take an approach for superior performance? Let us explore it a little bit more. Let us know, like I'm talking in commercial terms mostly. When you're talking about superior performance, what does it mean? If you take any of the things that we are talking about, it boils down to two things. Either you lower your cost or you increase your margins for any step that you take. If any of these two things are met, then actually you're making, you're going into the superior performance thing. So that's what we are trying to define. What is the cost of goods sold for eBay? It's 0. So they called it COGS. So one thing that made a lot of difference was, at some point before eBay, a lot of companies were in the e-commerce space, and whenever they were coming up in a particular niche or trying to do heads-on with Amazon, or they were backed by investors, but anything else that they were trying to do was just to sell things online, which means they had to bear a lot of costs on bringing the items to warehouse, store it, clear the stock, do the sales, and all these kinds of things. Then came eBay. eBay doesn't own any stock. They just have the platform. They don't have any cost of goods sold. So that's the reason why on the first day when eBay went for IPO, the stock price started at $18 and it went up to $47 because of the one reason. So this difference in what everybody is doing in a space versus what somebody else comes and extends the space brings us to something called blue ocean strategy. It's a very fancy term. So it's a theory. The concept is industries are like called as red oceans, or organizations are called based on their strategies, or called as red oceans or blue oceans. What red oceans basically means is there's a big pool of competition going on, and if you're jumping into the competition, just like what other people try to do in e-commerce, that industry with defined boundaries and fighting for that piece of slice in the market, that's what we call red ocean. But if you try to come in with extending the actual benefits, or like if you take the market a little bit more, increase its boundaries, and come up with a particular strategy, that's what we call blue ocean strategy. Who are these people? What does it click you like as soon as you see them?
Video games.
Gamers, basically. So this was the image when a lot of people tried to, especially the user persona thing that we were talking about. Whenever anyone wanted to see or design any games, the first thing that comes to their mind was these kind of user personas, and the second thing is the hardware that they are trying to use. So a lot of people place their strategy on increasing the GPU size or increasing the RAM side, making better hardware, but they're all focused on a set of people. What happened was, this, if I had have shown you before you have seen other games, I don't think anybody would have recalled it as gamers. But we now know that these are like proper gamers, and you can see the wide range of people it started covering. Like from old people to kids to everyone, and it's a family entertainer thing. This all started with one company called Nintendo Wii. So I'll just try to explain, I'm not sure if the pointer is working. Yeah, so the pointer is working. So what I'll try to explain is this x-axis defines different types of strategy points basically. So either you take a strategy on price, high resolution graphics, non-gaming functions, online gaming, and all the other stuff. So you put all of those on the x-axis, and you put your priority on the y-axis. That becomes like your strategy graph basically. So at that point in time, this is like around 2007 period, 2007-8. Lot of people like Microsoft, Sony, if you see, they're like basically fighting on price. And the second thing, because they have to give better graphics, a lot of them weighted it more. So if you see that red dotted line is Microsoft Xbox, the solid red line is Sony, and Nintendo Wii came here. Nintendo was also having the similar kind of gaming consoles at that point, but what made all the difference was this. So a lot of people are like paying high weightage for other graphical functions, which meant it also increased a lot of cost. And then what Nintendo did was, it paid very less attention to all the other things. It added or increased the market, which we call the blue ocean. Till then, all this was red ocean, and everybody was fighting for that in the market space. And somebody came, like Nintendo Wii came in and said, I'm going to introduce motion sensor, and that's one of my strategy point, and I'm going to weight a high. The next thing that I'm going to bring in is the non-technology part. I'm going to try to increase the user persona. It should be a family entertainer thing. Everybody and anybody should be able to play these games. So that's the idea that they came up with. As a result, what happened was this. So if you see the same period, I think the numbers are a little bit not so clear. But this is around 2007 or 2008, whenever they introduced the console. And blue represents Xbox. Xbox sales, overall sales didn't grow up much. And if you see the red thing, it is PS3. But if you see Nintendo Wii, when it started, so the crossing the chasm thing, same thing happened. So when initially they had to wait for some new customers to come in, but it went up till 2009. So what happened afterwards was all different, because once you also introduce a new strategy of doing things, people come and follow you. They take some time, but you own the market till that point. So that was what happening till this point, and that was what when Nintendo was ruling all these gaming consoles at some point in time. Later on, all these people came into the same, so the market size increased, and the blue ocean also became the red ocean. And you have to again find out another set of attributes for your blue ocean. So what actually made the difference, one of the major difference, how can they actually include all the people or make it a family entertainer? It was all because of motion sensors. And motion sensors was the technology strategy. And over the whole talk, one thing that I'm stressing is technology is the first strategy is what I'm saying. I'm not saying technology is the only strategy, because you cannot actually play only with technology. And we'll see some cases where like the even with technology, if you don't put all the other things right, you may actually fail. So we'll start with technology. What do Eiffel Tower, the Empire State Building, and Burj Khalifa have in common? They are all tall, yeah. But you can even call it small because they are all measured through their height or like how tall they are. Okay. In 1854, the New York Crystal Palace, a person called Elisha Otis, he was standing on a single platform supported by these two columns. When you can see these two columns, he was standing there 4 stories high, and it was 1854. It was all just, there was a single rope through which he was just hanging over there, and there was so much amount of people came in to see what was happening. His name is Elisha Otis. What he said was to his assistant to cut the rope. When he cut the rope, the whole crowd said, ah, and were waiting for that weird movement or embarrassing movement that was about to happen. But what happened was, it struggled a little bit, but the whole platform landed safely. Now again, what do the Eiffel Tower, Empire State Building, and Burj Khalifa have in common? All of them have one thing common, it's the Otis lifts. Just think about this. If that technology was not introduced, we can't even dream or imagine of having very tall skyscrapers. So solving that through technology made a lot of difference and created a very good opportunity for Otis. That comes us to technology. So we talked about strategy, we talked about technology, and now we are trying to put technology as the first strategy and see what few use cases. So in 1948, what Ray Kroc said was, I put the hamburger in the assembly line. So what he said again was, I put the hamburger in the assembly line. Putting it in assembly line meant a lot of things. It means I want to be very faster in production. It means I want to be very fast in the process. It means I'm going to increase a lot of efficiency. And that's what made a lot of difference. Ray Kroc was the founder of McDonald's. And what it meant after 50 years was, they sell 75 hamburgers every second. So by the second I finished this sentence, they would have sold at least 150 hamburgers. And they serve 1% of the world population every day. One more thing, they have 36,000 restaurants, that too in 119 countries, and that's their bigger reach, which was all because of putting that assembly line thought into their process. Just think the other way around, if they did not have that thought, I don't think they would have the capability to sell 75 hamburgers per second. Which company first invented the digital camera? Kodak, because some of you know, right? One of the slides that I talked in the beginning. Yeah. So this is the same Kodak story that Chris was talking in the morning. So Kodak actually invented the first camera. It was initially called the Eastman Dry Plate Film Company, and they had a beautiful quote which said, "You press the button, we do the rest." And it was a very funny and catchy liner, and they were like actually one of the biggest companies at some point in time. So let us take, I think the colors are like not so visible. So in 1881, yeah, I too can't see that. So Eastman and Henry formed the company, and what happened in 1888 was Kodak was born. The first digital name for Kodak was given, and that's when the code came in, you press the button, we do the rest. And later in 1975, the first world digital camera was invented, and it was from one of the employees in Kodak. What happened was, in 2001, Kodak acquired a lot of companies in between, but one of the companies that it acquired was called OPhoto Inc. It was an online photo sharing service, which was one of the biggest thing in 2001. And in 2012, Kodak filed for bankruptcy. Let us go a little bit in detail what happened. So when you are saying like technology, putting the technology on the first place makes a big role. So they put technology as the first thing. Actually they invested $1 billion for their digital camera division. And so let us see like what are the other factors that made them file bankruptcy. First thing, why do we actually take pictures?
Memories, saving the memories.
Yeah, so why do you want to save the memories? Sorry?
To recover.
To recollect. What is one more thing that we do when we take pics? Share. So initially when we were taking photos or when we were clicking photos, it was all about storing the few set of moments with us. And later on there was a particular change that happened, which was number one, the industry was changing. How the industry changed was, cameras were all digital so it was all like that roll-based camera, and then it went to digital, and from there it went into mobiles and it all disappeared into mobile. So if you have a mobile, you actually have a digital camera, which meant you are also taking a lot of pics, which meant that there was a behavioral change too. A lot of people were not taking pics just to keep storage or keep a record of it. It was all about sharing. So there was a behavioral change that was actually happening, and that's what one of the main points that Kodak missed. So let us see or break down the whole Kodak story, long story, into very small 4 milestones. First thing, Kodak started investing billions in digital cameras. That was right. Even before Mark Zuckerberg said, let the hacking begin, Kodak actually acquired O Photo service, which was one of the top online photo sharing service, which was in 2001. So they acquired it. What Kodak made them was not to share photos through it, but the whole set of users, they forced the flow to make prints out of Kodak. So that was one thing where they missed the behavior and forced the user to actually start taking prints out of it. The next one was so that's what happened after that. So they actually by 2012 they filed bankruptcy and they started closing the company. And it was actually acquired by Shutterfly, the same O Photo service that they acquired. Exactly after a week, a set of 18 employees with founder called Strostrom was acquired for $1 billion by Facebook. It was the same photo sharing service which was just 18 months old, and it was just acquired by one of the biggest giants. How many of you know Netflix? I think most of you should definitely know. How many of you know Blockbuster? Few of you. But if it was 2000, we would have known Blockbuster better, and we would not have known Netflix. So this was the stage of Netflix in 2000. So Netflix was just forming. So they were all, both of them were into DVD renting. So you just order and then they send it through courier. So you take a service and they actually try to courier it, or you just have some pickup points. You take and see. It is a basic rental service, but not online at that point. So Blockbuster denied multiple requests to buy Netflix for just 50 million. And what happened was, just in 10 years, just a decade, Blockbuster declared bankruptcy. If you see the beginning, like just take that period, 2004 to 2010, it was not even a fair game. Blockbuster was somewhere else. They were like at a very high point. They had a lot of money, a lot of employees, but Netflix was at very beginning. And they were like just trying to head on with Blockbuster. But if you see later on by 2010, then they filed bankruptcy. You can see what happened to Netflix. They were like 2.2 billion revenue company. What made all the difference? So Reed is the founder of Netflix. So what John Deere, who is the investor, was saying was, Reed was ahead of technology curve, and that completely changed that industry. So let us go in detail, again splitting it into 4 divisions and see like what happened with Netflix. So when Blockbuster had all the money and they had like all the strategies, what they did was they just focused on increasing the number of outlets. They just tried to increase the number of, they just focused on the sales, and they just keep increasing all the number of outlets. And it also like can be mapped up with what is called innovator's dilemma, which is a like very interesting topic. You can go and explore it. But at the same point in time, Netflix was investing, which was like very early stages of sharing videos or streaming videos online. Netflix was investing in that part, which was technology. Second thing, they started using, even from the very beginning, even AWS was very new at that point, but these people reduced all the operational costs. They invested in all cloud-based services like AWS, but they didn't stop there. They took that kind of subscription-based model and coming out of the model anytime, so no strings attached kind of a subscription model to this industry. So that was first time they all actually even bought that. So that's milestone number 2. The third thing that they did was they actually invested too much on technology. So what they did was they started building up a box. So you buy the box, it tries to download the video well in upfront, and then you can actually play whatever movies you want to see from that point. But what they found was it was not clicking up much, it was taking up a lot of time, and by the time YouTube was coming up very well, so they said like streaming is the best way to do things. Then they moved to streaming, invested good amount of effort on technology and streaming, and at the same time, they were also seeing all these mobile and device consumption wave coming up, and they invested in all the possible devices. If you go and see how much Netflix is supported for different kinds of devices, you can see like they are almost in all the devices through which you can consume any media. The next thing that they did was, they started owning their own content. That was like one of the brilliant most things. It is not non-technical strategy though, but if you see, they are right now competing with HBO kind of people, because you can any times download any of these things, but if you own the content, people will come to you. So that's one of the most recent strategies that they tried to use. I think this will be mostly a cliche, but a good thing to say. The world's largest firm, Uber, largest taxi firm, owns no cabs. The world's most popular media company, Facebook, doesn't have any content. The world's most valuable retailer, Alibaba, doesn't have any content, no stock actually, doesn't store any stocks. The world's largest accommodation provider, Airbnb, has no property. But if you see one thing that is common across all these companies, including Netflix that I was saying, they all call themselves as the technology companies. They put technology as the first strategy for them. So technology, like strategy gives you direction, but technology gives you the actual way. And what's your way? And I think that's one of the things for us, which I mean like tech at core is what means to us. Thank you.